Online game, I possess a monster merging simulator. Chapter 336, Invitation from the City Lord of the Emerald City. Traceless Phantom. Phantom Blink. Rushing into the crowd, Aisha began a massacre. With Lorne's instructions, she was no longer confused, but returned to her initial state. The sharp blades in her hands finally began to dance. -213,000, critical. -219,000, critical. -218,000, critical. -214,000, critical. -210,000, critical. Because after killing, Aisha's attacks would be critical, so the damage each time was terrifyingly 200,000 points. There was no need to consider the enemy's defense. Under such a terrifying attack, any defense was virtual and would not have any effect. The poor domination players were dealt a devastating blow before they could react. Aisha's speed was far beyond their imagination. By the time they reacted, more than 50 people had already fallen. "Boss, what should we do now? Tyrants' pets are too strange. We lost dozens of people," a player shouted beside Barbarian. "These damned elves are allied with Tyrant. Inform our brothers to quickly retreat. Don't stay in the Emerald City. Go into the wilderness and wait for boss's orders." Seeing that the situation was bad, Barbarian quickly gave the order to retreat. Although they had 1,000 people, they had already lost more than 100 people during the conversation just now. At this rate, these 1,000 people would be wiped out in less than a minute. There was no way to fight. After receiving the order, the players of the Domination Guild covered their heads and scattered. After blending into the crowd, it was difficult to kill them anymore. However, many people could not escape in time and died under Aisha's sharp blades. Seeing this scene, the surrounding players were excited. She has unlimited uses of blink, which is equivalent to infinitely dodging attacks. Isn't this too invincible? Tyrant's pet is indeed extraordinary. This is a true assassin. In the million-strong army, she could come and go as she pleased. Goddess Aisha is indeed powerful. Ding! Your pet has killed the player Domination Little Jiro. Ding! Your pet has killed the player Domination Red Armor. Ding! Your pet has killed the player Domination No Talking When Eating. Ding! Your pet has killed the player Domination Bedwetting 3-year-old. On Lorne's interface, information about kills kept flashing. There were more than a dozen messages every second. This was Aisha's full strength. Her attack speed and damage had reached the limit. Lorne watched everything calmly. The High Elves did not stop him. They were already shocked by the scene before them. So this was the true strength of the Phantom Assassin. No wonder it was called a legendary class. White light flashed at the scene, and Aisha finally stopped. She took a minute and a half to kill 517 people. Because too many people had been killed, Lorne's name was dark red. The surrounding players gave him greedy looks. Killing a red-named player would drop a large amount of equipment. If they killed Tyrant, they would definitely obtain a divine equipment. Unfortunately, this could only exist in their imagination. In this world, there was not a single adventurer who could kill Tyrant. "Master, some people are hiding in the crowd. I can't catch up." Aisha felt that she had not done well enough. She could not help but lower her head in self-blame. Seeing her like this, Lorne smiled gently and raised his hand to help her remove her hood. Feeling her face exposed to everyone, Aisha quickly lowered her head. But the next moment, Lorne's finger raised it. "You don't have to wear a hood anymore. You're the most noble among the elves." Lorne comforted her. "Master, thank you." Aisha's eyes widened, joyful tears falling from the sides of her beautiful face. At this moment, Captain Cora stood beside him and said, "Noble adventurer, our city lord sends an invitation to you. As the only qualified adventurer in 10,000 years, he was the most respected guest in the Emerald City and even the entire elf race. The city lord of the Emerald City also sent an invitation immediately. Without thinking, Lorne agreed. Since his identity was so noble, he should be able to use this chance to directly obtain the 2 mission materials from the city lord. He followed Cora into the city lord's area of the Emerald City and passed through the beautiful corridor. Finally, in a huge castle, he saw the city lord of the Emerald City, Fanny. This elf city lord was dressed in gorgeous clothes. She sat behind the curtain and stood in the hall. Only through the curtain could one see a faint outline. City lord, this is the human adventurer who passed the taboo mystic realm. Cora bowed and introduced. Yes, you can leave first. I already know what happened. The city lord sitting behind the curtain said. Her voice was very dignified, and the words she said seemed to be an order that could not be rejected. Hearing this, Cora nodded and walked out of the hall. At this moment, the city lord spoke again. Honorable hero, actually, from the moment you entered the taboo mystic realm, I had already paid attention to you. I thought that you were the one with the greatest hope of passing the test, but what I did not expect was that you only used half the time to complete all of this. I have to say, you are indeed the adventurer with the greatest potential I have ever seen. Perhaps you already know that after passing the taboo mystic realm, you will have the right to sign a contract with the elves, but you might not know what it meant for us elves when you passed the test. Lorne frowned. He had heard the other party call him hero. However, he did not know the true meaning of this title for now. Now that he heard the city lord mention this, he was immediately curious. The truth is, this taboo mystic realm is not only for the sake of the elf contract, but also for the future of the elves. 10,000 years ago, an adventurer helped our elves preserve the only ancient tree of life in the world. However, after 10,000 years, the ancient tree of life is about to undergo a special transformation. In order to succeed in this transformation, we need some special materials. These things are very precious, and some even exist in special mystic realms that only adventurers can enter. Therefore, after obtaining the prophecy of the ancient tree of life, we began to set up the taboo mystic realm. At the same time, in order to stimulate the enthusiasm of the adventurers, we also spread the news that as long as they passed the test, they can contract with the elves. Chapter 337, Strange Situation. The game shuts down. And hearing the elf city lord's story, Lorne roughly understood the truth. It turned out that the elves did not think that they were high and mighty and did not want to communicate with other races. Instead, after saving the ancient tree of life, it made a prophecy and said that it needed to transform 10,000 years later. It also let the elves plan for this matter. Finally, the elves thought of setting up a taboo mystic realm. In the beginning, it was to find powerful adventurers and let them help the elves find the special materials they needed. However, because it had been too long, and the matter regarding the hero was hidden by the higher UPS, the elves later became more and more arrogant, even looking down on any race. In the end, this happened. To this day, many elves still thought that no one had ever cleared the taboo mystic realm, but in fact, this mystic realm had been cleared many times in the past 10,000 years. Moreover, every adventurer who cleared it finally became a famous figure in the history books. This included the archer of the 6 major classes. He had once been the most powerful adventurer the elves knew. It turned out that he was indeed the most powerful adventurer, but the problem was that before he became a god, he did not help the elves prepare all the materials. There were still some special materials left empty now, and the time for the ancient tree of life to transform was coming soon. Therefore, the elves were actually very anxious now. They even wanted to cooperate with the human empire and let all the adventurers actively challenge the mystic realm. Not long ago, the city lord of the Emerald City, Fanny, had participated in a meeting regarding this. However, not long after the meeting ended, she encountered an adventurer who had completely cleared the dungeon, which made her very excited. As for what had happened in the square, she had already favored Lorne. If anything happened, she would definitely help him immediately. However, everything was easily resolved by him, so she did not have a chance to help. Thinking about this, Lorne immediately knew his position now. Since he was important, it should not be difficult to obtain some gems and soil. While he was thinking, she said, "Young hero, please help the elves. We will be grateful for your help." "I can help you, but I have a favor to ask of you." Lorne first agreed to the other party's request and then made his own request. "No problem. Feel free to ask. As long as it's within my ability, I'll do my best. My matter is actually very simple. I want some soil of life and some natural crystals." Lorne stated his needs. In the end, she could not help but frown and say, "Mr. Hero, I know the purpose of you wanting the soil of life is definitely to save the branch of the ancient tree of life of the night elves. We can provide you with this, but we can't provide you with the natural crystals for the time being." "Why?" This Fanny hesitated and continued, "There are many natural crystals in the Emerald City, but we can't hand them to Mr. Hero, because all the natural crystals in the Emerald City are dedicated to the Dragon of Emerald. Almost all the natural crystals are at the highest level of the Elven Holy Temple. Without the permission of the Dragon of Emerald, we can't approach that place, much less touch anything there. Otherwise, we will definitely anger the Dragon of Emerald. Is there no other way to obtain the nature crystal?" Lorne asked. "Yes, but we have to wait 15 days, because that's when the natural crystals will be condensed. Moreover, even if we obtain the natural crystals, we have to send it to the Temple of the Dragon of Emerald. This is something that Lady Lena has strictly instructed. I can't make a decision on my own." "All right, it just so happens that I want to meet the Dragon of Emerald. I'll ask her for it later." Lorne murmured, then looked at Fanny and said, "Can you give me the soil of life first?" "Sure, I'll get someone to go get it." Without hesitation, she immediately sent someone to the warehouse to collect the materials. Soon, Lorne obtained the soil he wanted and left the city lord's area for the time being. Although he was the adventurer that the elves had been waiting for, he was still too weak. He could only accept the elves' mission after he completed his Class 3 advancement. However, he could not leave this place yet, because he had to meet the Dragon of Emerald. The mission regarding the Divine Radiance could only be completed after seeing her. In addition, he had not obtained the nature crystals. He had to think of a solution. Just now, he had observed the Elven Holy Temple. At the bottom was an area where the elves could live. The higher UPS were all living in the domain of the Dragon of Emerald. Without permission, no one was allowed to enter, and the nature crystals were inside. However, the defense there was extremely tight. It seemed that he could not sneak in. Will the ghost deity necklace be detected? Lorne touched his chin. He had the ghost deity necklace on him. This was a mythical equipment. According to the notification of the equipment, in the ghost deity state, no one could discover it. Lorne was confident against the elven guards. However, this time, he was entering the Dragon of Emerald's bedroom. The situation inside must be very complicated. This was definitely very risky. It might implicate his other mission. I should complete the mission of the Dragon of Emerald first. Lorne temporarily gave up on the idea of infiltrating. He planned to accept his mission first and wait for an opportunity to act. He would enter the temple where the Dragon of Emerald was and check his surroundings. Just like that, he accompanied Aisha around the city and quickly received a message from the elves. It turned out that the Dragon of Emerald was about to descend. Lorne returned to the Elven Holy Temple. Under the lead of the elves, he passed through the bottom temple and moved up a guarded corridor. After walking for more than 10 minutes, he finally arrived at the temple where the Dragon of Emerald had descended. This was the highest platform. It was open air. There were trees dozens of meters tall around it. There were even soft grass on the ground. The scene of birds singing and flowers was refreshing. Lorne looked around and found a large number of transparent gems on the ground. They were glowing with a dreamlike rainbow light, and it was obvious that they were not ordinary materials. He was about to pick up the gem when the entire sky darkened. He heard the system notification. Ding! Due to special reasons, in order to protect its data safety, the Divine Realm system has forcefully closed the connection service and entered a self-protection state. Closing the connection service? When he heard this information, Lorne was stunned. Just now, he thought that he had triggered some special mission, but on careful look, he realized that the Divine Realm game had sealed itself. How was this possible? Lorne could not believe what he was seeing. If the information he saw now was correct, then the players should not be able to enter this game. Just like a game maintenance period, all players should be unable to enter the game, unlike now when Lorne was still inside the game world. This was a virtual game. Virtual games were connected through mental consciousness. If the game cut off the connection now, it meant that the player's consciousness were imprisoned in this virtual world. This was extremely terrifying for humans. In a rare case, Lorne started to panic. He quickly took out the system interface and looked for the logout button on it. However, following that, something that made his hair stand on end occurred. The system interface that had the option to log out suddenly dimmed. No matter how he clicked, he could not choose to log out. Just as he was feeling fear, the scene before him suddenly darkened. All 5 senses disappeared, and his consciousness fell into eternal darkness.